We're here today with Pastor Levi Marychurch. Great to have you with us, man.
Thanks, bro.
Hey, just wanted to ask you a few questions. Now, I heard earlier that you have been the youth pastor at Arise Church in New Zealand since day one.
Yeah, that's right.
And so when you started the youth ministry there, tell us a little bit about what it was and where it is today.
Yeah, cool. Well, the church was 3 weeks old, and I bumped into Pastor John actually at my friend's engagement party, and he was there, and I'd never met him before. And I was 19 at the time, and I came along to the church, and we started building a relationship.
Yeah.
And in the church, there was one young person, and I didn't really have an eye for young people then. I was fresh out of high school, and this kid was 14. And then after a little while, Pastor John said, Levi, I want you to be the guy that starts the youth ministry and rocks this youth group vibe. And I was like, what is that? I don't really know what that is. And he said, cool, well, I'll send you on an airplane up to Auckland, a major city in New Zealand, and also the Bay of Plenty in New Zealand. And I met with 4 youth pastors. And by the time I got my head around what it was that he wanted me to do, I flew back and then we started a small group. We would have had 20, 30 kids in the small group. We used to watch Planet Shakers DVDs, play games,
Totally.
do a Bible study, get the kids fired up. And then by the time we had about a critical mass of maybe 80 kids, we launched a Friday night program.
Yeah.
And that must have been in maybe 2005. And first night, Ythmin preached our opening youth night at Elevate. 99 people in the room. Like, what's wrong with us that we couldn't find another person?
Man, there's got to be someone that's like pregnant or something. Get you that one line over. Hey,
There's
one of the leaders' wives or
There's got to
something.
be. Bring some pastor.
Yeah.
Find some kid from the street.
Yeah, man.
And then and that was 2001. 2002. Sorry, was when the church started. So that's 12, 13 years ago. And,
Dude,
and we're still here.
So you planted a youth ministry.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a takeover or anything like that. It was literally one kid.
One kid.
And tell us about where it is today.
Yeah, so we would have, Rise has got 6 campuses.
Yeah.
Had 4, and then we just launched 2 about 12 months ago.
Awesome.
Going really good, and we run the youth services at 4 campuses, not the 6. They're gonna, they'll kick off soon. And so across those 4 campuses on a Friday night, we get about 1,000 young people coming into our youth program.
Massive, man.
Yeah, heaps of fun. Goes real good.
Massive.
And yeah, so that's been our sort of probably about a 10-year journey here.
Yep. Okay. So, I guess sometimes as a youth pastor, whether in the country or even in a church where you know like what it could be, but you look at where you're at the moment.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can look at it and it can almost be a little bit overwhelming, thinking like, how can we get from where we are to where we feel God's called us to be?
Yes.
Let me just ask you this: what were the key points of growth that you had to, I guess, almost bust through those barriers?
Yeah.
And how did you do it numerically for your youth ministry and also spiritually? But also, what was required in your own leadership to grow? What things did you have to change to be able to see your youth ministry grow?
Yeah, look, I think like the numerical barriers are sort of 100, 200, 500. For me, those are pretty major. 800, 1,000.
Yeah.
And really the next goal for us, sort of 1,500 or 2,000. And I think those numerical barriers are common for most guys, and once they kind of get into 3 figures. But I think any I love what you say, it's like any numerical barrier you face externally in the youth ministry, it really is always a reflection, I believe, of what's going on internally in your leadership.
Yep.
And some youth pastors, I think, clock off. They maybe get 200 and they kind of go, in order to go to another level, I can't do what I have done, which has been building relationships, creating a family, loving young people. I've got to now do more leadership development. So they clock off from being a pastor and really become a youth manager. Yeah. And then what happens is they go through maybe a negative cycle of growth and realize that 12 months later they made an error long ago, but they don't realize what it was. And so I'll often say, man, you've got more in you. Like, just because you're at 200 or 300 or even 150 or whatever the number might be, or in order to go to another level numerically, I've got to stop doing what I was doing and start doing some new stuff. Yeah. You need to do new stuff, don't get me wrong. But what got you from where you were to where you are was the fact you built relationships, you created a family, young people loved you, you pointed them to Christ, they brought friends, made relationships with Christ himself, and that's part of it. I think, just if I could just say one other thing, I think another part of it is relational evangelism. And what I mean by that is there has been, I think, a history of the evangelist. Let's bring him in. Yep. And let's do a high school tour. And that's cool. And I've done
where it's like they rely on that person to do what the teenagers are supposed to do. Hey.
Exactly. And I think like there are people who are gifted and we should get them in. But if our reliance as youth pastors go, cool, well, I can't grow and I can't get souls unless I get this cat, we miss the point. because you've got a youth ministry full of kids who can reach their friends for God. And our job is to stimulate and encourage and disciple them, so they're confident enough to go, okay, cool. Well, I might not be able to speak to 1,000 people at my school, but I can reach 15. I can reach 20. And so we run these things called +1 parties, which again is just taking a secular term and just putting a Christian spin on it. So then come to youth, but +1. Who's your +1? And so then we give huge shout outs to the +1s that night. You might be a +1, and we're playing it down a bit, like it's not going to be our spiritual anointing night, where we take Holy Communion with real blood. But it's going to be more just like, let's just have a great time. And on those nights, we see, I think this is the thing, we don't just see growth, we don't just see the souls, but we see the following week, the same kids, because they're connected with somebody. So they just come back.
They've got someone to come with.
Exactly.
So they're not just being awkward while they're there because they've got no one to talk to.
Totally. And as a pastor, man, your job is done. Like, because how many times we're making cold calls? But if the guy's already got connection, then he's going to come next week.
It's locked in.
It's easy.
Totally, man. Okay, so just a couple of other questions. Going from 100 to 200, right? Well, 1 to 150. That would probably be the average size of a youth ministry, you know, around Australia. What did you do to just, I guess, tip it over the edge for that first growth point?
It's funny, like what I did back then. I'd say two things: leadership development, but then I did the opposite of what I just said. Let me explain myself. Relational evangelism, I didn't understand its value until maybe year 3 or 4, and now I just think, I think you should never move away from it, because that's gospel. You know, that they should go out and tell people about Jesus. That's the good news. How beautiful are the feet? You know, that's for all of us. But I do think that there is an element of even finances you need to throw in, and focus you need to throw in, to go into the schools and get that wave. Because once you get that wave, crowd builds a crowd, there's a level of momentum, kids are getting saved, and the cheapest way to build your youth group is with the kids who have already come. You know, people got these massive phone lists, and they go and get more people. It's like, okay, you've already spent the money. The kids have already come. So then actually ring in, hey man, we're having a great thing this week, I want to connect with you, and I noticed you came with such and such. So I think in the early days, we call them high school blitzers. I know Youth Alive and all over Australia, well known for doing tours and stuff like that. We sometimes we didn't even get somebody in. Or we might just create a dance crew from within the church, and throw some money at some sausages and candy floss and inflatable castles and whatever, and you can afford it. It's easy to transfer from school to school, and you just see that just that impetus. That I think there's that tipping point element. We're at 80, and that was cool. But when you cross that magic mark of the 3 digits, there was something really special that takes place, and kids are going, man, there's something here. And then the other thing I'll say really quickly is leadership development. I think in the youth group, there are young people who are just weapons. They're guns, man. They're just great kids who've switched on for God, but there's an X factor about them, and that's leadership. And so they might be 15, 16, might be 14, might be 18. Really, that's your cycle of leaders, maybe not even now, but in the next phase of what you're about to do.
It's almost like preemptive, isn't it?
It's looking beyond where you are. Youth ministry is very cyclic. So it usually goes through maybe 3 or 4 years, goes through a cycle. And so I feel like at Arise, we're probably in our 4th cycle of youth ministry, coming into, we've had the first iteration when I didn't know what I was doing, and through the rest, and now we're about actually releasing the next tier of youth pastors, coming on staff, running these things. So the days of me being every Friday night at youth running it, they might be in the last cycle, but now it's about walking and saying, bro, did you see that kid? Like in the second row, man, he's a footy player, he plays, like he's got at the soccer academy, he's got leadership all over him. And so it's about helping these guys, discipling them, discipling the pastors, to make sure that they're finding the young people who are just flipping, cranking, you know.
So good, man. Hey, if you could share, I guess, one last key just to impart to youth pastors that are watching about youth ministry or something you're passionate about, what would it be?
Oh man, I would encourage you as a youth pastor that to value the young people that you have, and value the time that they're in right now, the time of their life. You know, your teenage years are your best years, man, the best memories. You know, if you're a dude out there, you know, just running amok with the boys, you know, and hopefully not doing anything too bad, but it's the time of your life, and you have minimal responsibility, no overheads, and the money you do make, especially for the fellas, all they do is spend it on shoes and food. But I think young people get slagged off. They get slagged off in the media, slagged off at school, slagged off at home, slagged off at the church. They break stuff and you get blamed for it. But I would encourage you that they will never be in a place that's more impacting in a mission field that's greater than they're in right now. They're in a school with hundreds of kids, generally speaking, that they can reach tomorrow with the gospel, the good news of Jesus Christ, and help them understand that this is a great time of their life. They should enjoy it, they should have fun, and they should take advantage while they're still young. And I would encourage you to do that. Don't believe the hype, don't slag them off, but love them. Amen.
Yeah. Levi, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. If people want to connect up with you, see what's happening in your youth ministry, what's your Instagram name?
Yeah, it's my name, Levi Marychurch, Levi Church, and that's just all one word.
Too easy. Hey, youth pastors, we would love to hear testimonies of what God's doing in your youth ministry. You know, don't grow complacent with where you're at, but just let Him continue to challenge you to take it further, reach more teenagers, disciple more teenagers. And, you know, if you want to share a testimony, jump on our Contact Us section on our website and let us know what's happening, Ythmin.com. We'll see you guys next time for our next interview, but for now, we're out. Catch ya.
Peace, y'all.